Hi Leo, happy birthday and welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. This is your August 2022 tarot reading. Thanks to those of you who liked, viewed, shared, and subscribed to the channel. I appreciate all of that. And for those of you new to the channel, as far as what we have in front of us, it's a cult crossbred as always, and I also pulled the 4 agreements, Wisdom of the Oracle, and Mudra card for you guys. We're actually going to start the reading off by rolling those astrology dice we have in front of us to get an idea of where your focus will be as far as that goes. All right, let's see what we get. Okay, so we have 2. So second house for you guys is Virgo, and of course toward the end of August we're going to be in Virgo season when the sun moves in there. But Mercury's going to be there as well for, pretty sure for like toward the end of the first week, almost toward the end of the third or fourth week. So definitely could be some focus there. And then we have the sun. So, of course, the sun will be in your sign for the first few weeks of August and then move into Virgo. So, more second house energy there, too. And we have Aquarius. So, Aquarius is your opposite sign of relationships, partnerships, contracts. And we have Saturn there, retrograde. And, of course, there's going to be a full moon in Aquarius around the middle of the month as well. So, makes sense to see this come up as well. All right, so with all that in mind, we'll get started with the main spread. Main situation position, we have the Ace of Pentacles reversed, and challenging that, we have the Queen of Pentacles. So seeing these 2 cards, the first thing that comes to mind is I feel like some of you might be turning down financial opportunity, possibly because you might feel like it's a little bit too unstable for your liking. So just to give you a generic example of how it could be playing out, maybe it would be a job opportunity, right? But maybe it's with a startup company that doesn't have too long of a track record, and you might be in a very secure position in your current career path, right? So you could view it like, you know what, in this economy, that might be a bit too risky for me to go down that path. For some of you, this could also be around investments of some kind, too, where maybe you're possibly thinking about withdrawing because maybe the investment was one of those things that you'd have to be in it for a long time to see the results from it. And now with the economy the way it is, you might be reconsidering, like, is it worthwhile to keep going down that path? And for some of you, it could just also point to possibly a mental blockage, right? So maybe you've gotten to a certain level with your finances and probably fairly successful too, but you're just coming up at a loss for how to make that next step. All right, and the foundation position, we have the 6 of Swords. So yeah, for some of you, might have felt like you were already in some kind of a chaotic environment and you already moved away from that. So that could be part of the reluctance for you to throw yourself back into that too, right? So it could be one of those things where with that Queen of Pentacles in the challenge position, you could just be saying that that could be, yes, it's in a challenge position, but I don't necessarily view it as a challenge in all of these scenarios, meaning that you might view this as, okay, well, I already worked hard to get out of an unstable environment, right? So you feel like you could have just found your footing around something, and now something might come your way that has a bit of a risk to it, and you could be a bit averse to taking that risk at this time. Speaking of which, in the past position, we have the 5 of Pentacles. Yeah, so this could just be saying that for some of you might have already gone through some hardships financially, right? Or possibly just in career in general, possibly even relationships. And you might feel like, okay, you know what, I worked hard to get to where I am. I'm not really going to throw myself into a potential risky situation again, which would make perfect sense if that's the case. Given that this is Taurus energy too, if this is pointing to some kind of investment scenario, like I mentioned, of course, we have Uranus in Taurus too, so that could have led to some volatility around investments that you might have made too. So, you know, one moment it might have seemed like things were great, then they might have taken a big hit, right? And you might still realize that that might still ebb and flow like that, but you might realize that, you know what, this is a bit too shaky for my liking. I might want to move towards something more stable. So maybe not as great of a reward, but lower risk. All right, in the present position, we have the 8 of Cups. So yeah, for some of you, especially given that this is 8th house energy for you guys, it could just be saying, again, that maybe this is around some investment. Maybe you tried it for a while, right? Maybe even up to around 8 months, and you might have just decided, you know what, this isn't really for me. So you might have decided to withdraw from it. But for others of you, this could just be saying in general, maybe something that you started to build toward for a long time and you thought that it was going to lead to that ultimate success. You might have had a shift around that viewpoint recently and decided that maybe you just wanted to leave it behind. All right, in the near future position, we have the Five of Cups. So yeah, we saw the five energy in the past, and now we see it in the future. So for me, I feel like this is more of the emotional processing of the loss, though. So I don't necessarily view this as another loss. So like I said, maybe if we think of the Five of Pentacles in the past position there, that could really represent you guys being in the middle of something, right? Like just the day-to-day process that you were stuck in. You might have freed yourself from it, and now that you freed yourself from it in a more physical sense, now you could go through the more emotional processing of the loss. You know what I mean? So I don't feel like this is pointing to another loss coming up for you, just more of now that you're away from it, you've gotten some distance from it, you're able to process it on a more emotional level. And yeah, like I said, for some of you, it could have been some kind of investment that you made, that maybe there was some loss around it. Or even if it wasn't a flat out loss, just with everything becoming so much more expensive these days, right? So it could have just been something like that. That where you thought, okay, if I have this much money, I'll be able to achieve this. But now, maybe now that things are getting more expensive left and right, you're like, okay, well, now I have to recalculate those goals. All right. In the position of your influence in the situation, we have the Seven of Pentacles. So yeah, it looks like you are still feeling some kind of a pull, though, right? So as far as, to me, this represents where you are now. And I mean, look, if we look at the Five of Pentacles in the past and we see the Seven here, that shows some growth. But again, you could just feel like you're a bit drained, right? And wondering, like, okay, is this really the best path to go down? So that could be what it is. Maybe that Ace of Pentacles in reverse means that it was an enticing offer, right? But you're just like, I don't know, it seems like it could be a bit risky, right? And like I said, you could be looking back on a past situation where maybe you did take a risk like that, it didn't work out. So now you could be a bit gun shy, but at the same time, you might just feel that little pull though, because you're like, okay, yes, that's risky, but at the same time, what I'm doing now just feels like it's taking so long to build up even that next pentacle, right? Just one little bit more. Feels like it's taking its toll on you, basically. So, and like I said, interestingly enough, if we look at his clothes, it looks very similar to the clothes we see in the Six of Swords, too. So, yeah, this could be one of those things where you guys are really thinking, I feel like you might have initially turned an idea down, thinking that it might be too risky, but the idea just might keep coming back to you. All right, in the environment position, we have the Chariot. So this is the major arcana card for Cancer. And yeah, for you guys, that is your 12th house, right? So yeah, like I said, this could just be one of those things where you just keep feeling this idea coming back to you. Like you try to push it aside, like, no, you know what, I'm going to stick with the path I'm on. But I feel like the more risky option is still coming back up to you, right? Or you could just be seeing a lot of movement in your environment, right? And saying to yourself, all right, well, maybe this would be a good time to make a move. But yeah, it definitely just seems like things around you could just be nudging you toward making that move. But again, like I said, I feel like you guys are like, okay, you know what? It took me a long time to get to where I am now. I don't know if taking a risk at this time would be the best move. All right. In the hopes or fears position, we have the King of Pentacles. So yeah, for majority of you, I'm going to assume that this would be a hope of yours, right? And like I said, for some of you might even have a certain level of success already, because we do see that Queen of Pentacles in the challenge position, but maybe with that Ace of Pentacles in reverse there, it's saying that you're at a loss for how to get to this next level, right? Okay, how do I get from the Queen of Pentacles level to the King of Pentacles level? So, being one of those things that you're just wrestling with right now. And like I said, with all the pressures of things going up in price everywhere you look, right, that could be one of those things too, where now you feel like more of a fire lit under you, like, okay, yes, this was comfortable for me for a while, but now I might want to really figure out how to make that next step up. Okay, and in the the outcome position, we have the Knight of Cups, which is Pisces energy, and the King of Swords, which is Aquarius energy. So interesting to see these two in particular. Well, for one, we saw the Aquarius energy come up in your dice, and we also have it there, the Six of Swords, but see it come up here in the outcome too. For some of you, this could just be saying that full moon in Aquarius might give you that insight on how you can best move forward around the situation, right? To where it's going to make sense in a logical standpoint, but also with your emotions too. You'd be like, okay, this is a move where, like I said, you just might view whatever the situation is as risky, whatever the move may be. But I feel like you might find that balance where, like, okay, speaking of balance, here at the bottom of the deck, you guys have Temperance, which is about balance too. So it could just be one of those things where you figure out a way that says, okay, it's going to satisfy the intellectual side where I'm like, I don't know, is this risky? Is it worth it? Right? But also please you on an emotional level, like, okay, I'm not going to freak out that things are going to fall apart, right? So if it doesn't come to you around the Aquarius full moon, it could just be saying that worst case when we get to the Pisces full moon, which would be a little bit closer to the middle of September. That might be when you get the insight on how best to move forward in the situation. Yeah, and like I mentioned, you guys have Temperance at the bottom of the deck, so that represents finding balance as well. It's a Sagittarius energy. So yeah, this could just saying that maybe you'll get that creative spark that's going to figure out how best to navigate the situation. All right. Moving on to your 4 agreements card, we have always do your best. And it says practice makes the master. So let's see what it says on the back. Okay. It says by doing your best over and over, you can master the art of transformation. By doing your best, the habits of misusing your word, taking things personally, and making assumptions will become weaker and less frequent with time. So yeah, that energy makes me think of that 7 of Pentacles, right? Where you might feel like possibly that the work you're putting in, maybe it's not going to get you to that next level, right? And that could be where that, like I said, maybe a more risky offer comes through as more appealing to you guys at this time. But I feel like what that's saying is either way, as long as you're putting your best into it, there's the potential for growth in either situation. All right, and moving on to your Wisdom of the Oracle, we have Unfinished Symphony, there's the artwork, and the number is 10. So let's see what this is about. Okay, essential meanings says unfinished business, an incomplete lesson, lack of closure, the need to make amends. The Oracle's message. This is a time to tie up loose ends as you near the completion of a cycle or project and mastery of a lesson or skill. Before you can move forward, it's important that you come to terms with where you are now. Practice radical acceptance. Take inventory so that emotional and psychological closure can occur and the answers you seek will be found. You can't move forward if you are leaving things unfinished. Reflect on what has passed so that the symphony can finally end on a high note. So interesting message there, because maybe for some of you it's a bit of a threshold that you're reaching, right? With that Queen of Pentacles, and like I mentioned, the King of Pentacles, seeing that in the hopes or fears position, and like I mentioned, the growth from the 5 of Pentacles to the 7, right? So it could just be a slow period of growth that you guys are going through, but it could just be saying, you might have to reflect back on maybe where you have been, right? Which looks a little painful. And that could be why that 5 of Cups has come up in the future, where, like I said, you could just be emotionally processing where you've come from, and that helps you move forward with more confidence. All right, the relationship message says, moving on is difficult when love lingers, things are left unsaid, and you haven't had the opportunity for closure in your relationship and in your heart. You can still feel bound up in relationships when closure is denied you. It's important to achieve this for yourself. Write that letter, make that call, or have that conversation over a cup of coffee. For peace of mind, accept things as they are, make amends if need be, and declare your feelings, even if only to yourself. Be clear about what was left unresolved, and close the door on the past so you can set yourself free. Only then can new love blossom. So yeah, interesting message there. I mean, we do see the cups energy here, and with the Five of Pentacles, that can point to romantic relationship difficulty. But for a lot of you, I feel like this is more of a solo journey, and possibly related to finances. But hopefully it resonated with you guys. Worst case, the love reading will be out next week. All right, and the prosperity message says make sure you complete projects now before starting new ones. Perhaps you have created something special that will increase your sense of abundance and bring you opportunities for wealth. However, if you don't see it through, it won't add up to anything but more clutter. Now is the time to put your nose to the grindstone and complete the tasks that have accumulated. Pay your bills, sign the documents, do your filing, hand in an assignment, complete a work of art. Tie up loose ends you can move forward with surety, knowing you're on the prosperous path and feeling refreshed and excited about the future. So yeah, interesting message there. That could be what this is pointing to for some of you with that Seven of Pentacles. And with the Ace of Pentacles in reverse, that could just be saying that maybe some of you, in the midst of working on something you're currently doing, start thinking about the next thing, right? And that could be saying that that's why the Queen of Pentacles is coming up as a challenge there, which is to say, well, until you wrap up what you're already working on, you're going to feel that weight, So interesting perspective on that there. Hopefully that resonated. And lastly, we have a Mudra for you guys. This is your Mudra here. It's the Ushas Mudra. The keyword for it is productivity. Well, sounds like that could help with that situation, but let's see what it says. All right. Under benefits, it says awakens body and mind in the morning hours, increases creativity and productivity, benefits the pelvis and reproductive organs, increases mental clarity and alertness, harmonizes the endocrine system. So if that sounds like a Mudra thing would be beneficial for you guys, I'll put the name in the description below. As always, once again, happy birthday, and I will see you guys next month. All right, bye.